Greetings everyone, my name is Dr. Jason Freeman. I'd like to welcome you all to my channel. Alright, so I know this might be getting a little old, but basically this is one of those reactions. I'm a little late. I've heard about the James Gunn Creature Commandos panel. So what I want to do is actually watch this and react to it and kind of give my insights on it. Now the thing is with anything like this where you're reacting, there's always the risk of copyright claim. So what I'm going to do is I'm here some. We're going to pause it. I'm going to have to talk. That's just part of what this is. So, bear with me. I just want to watch and react to it and kind of give my insights, my thoughts on the DCU and the announcements that James Gunn makes here. All right. So without further ado, let's begin.
This is the first official project that you launched as part of your DCU. Can you talk a little bit about why start with Creature Commandos?
Well, the reason is, very technical. It's because it was written when I started as the CEO of DC Studios. The truth is like I had talked to Max about creating IP. Something after the Peacemaker did so well, and doing something in animation. And I talked to thanks guys, and I talked to Peter Girardi over at WB Animation about creating an anime.
All right, so the first pause, you have this full panel here. Some amazing actors. You got Grillo here. You got got his brother. So James Gunn's brother is there. You also have at least one of the actors from Peacemaker, as well as was it Red Guardian from I don't know the actor's name. I'm sorry. We got a guy who plays Red Guardian in the new upcoming Captain America movie. This is coming out next year. So yeah, so you have this really great panel, great actors, great cast. So I'm really kind of looking forward to hearing more about Creature Commandos, but also and he's talking about the larger DCU, and yeah, pre-existing IP. So it's already written, it's already there. So we're just kind of going with it. But I'm excited.
Animated series. I like the Creature Commandos. I love monsters. I love Frankenstein and the story of Bride of Frankenstein. And so it just seemed like the perfect thing to do. And I wrote the scripts without even having a deal. And then I happened to get hired as the head of DC Studios. And I very gracious.
Oh, I misunderstood. So he already had written it, and then that's when. So he had already written the scripts, and so they already were pre-existing, and then yeah, they're already there. So he just kind of went ahead and made that the first project.
Thank you, Self. Greenlit the show, and we made it.
How would you say when we
It's good to be the king.
see the show, this sets a creative template going forward, if it does at all?
Well, I think what this show does is this show is its own thing, and every single project that comes out of DC Studios is going to be its own thing. Yeah. This is we want this to be very different from what Superman is going to be when that comes out. We want Peacemaker to be different from that when that comes out. But also, those are just...
All right, this is my first critique. Now, I know, the whole thing about, are you a shill? Are you going to just like everything? No, not necessarily. I mean, there's definitely stuff with MCU. So I loved Endgame. I loved Infinity War. I hated not the Multiverse of Madness. I actually kind of like that. I hated the Quantumania. Multiverse of Madness I thought was okay. I love Wanda is the big villain. But when it comes to the Quantumania, I thought it was trash. I thought it was horrible. There's so many things about it, and I think I talked about it on, I critiqued it on one of my videos earlier. But yeah, so with this, one of my critiques of this is if all the tones are different, how do they mesh into the big tentpole events? So you think about Endgame, and so you had you had Ant-Man in there, you had Captain America, you had Iron Man, you had all these different movies that were coalescing into this one, Guardians of the Galaxy. And so if the tones are so off from each other, it's going to be weird when they come together. So that's one little, I guess, risky aspect. Now, again, it's worked before. It's worked with the Avengers, it's worked with MCU, but I'm a little worried that if everything is so different, if it's tonally different, when you bring them together, it could be a little wonky, a little bit off. So that's kind of one of my little worries, critiques. I would rather it be more of a kind of like with the Russo brothers, something that was a lot more. There's a lot more cohesion as to the actual stories, but maybe that's what James Gunn will do. Maybe he's being a little bit more cagey about, like maybe there's going to be some. He's going to have a little bit more control than what he's letting on.
The things I'm doing, right now, Anna and Craig are dealing with Supergirl, and it's just going tremendously well. We have Chris and Damon and Tom who are dealing with Lanterns, getting ready to shoot that, and that's been amazingly well. So every one of those things is going to be very different. It's a connected universe, but we're not imposing any sort of overall aesthetic. And the Creature Commandos show is definitely its own thing, as you can see.
Talking about an aesthetic, there are very specific stylistic choices you and Dean have crafted here. Talk to me a little bit about, you can obviously go many different ways, innumerable ways in animation. How did you arrive at the look that we're seeing in Creature Commandos?
That's a good question for Dean.
Yeah, well, first of all, you can see it's got like a real sort of Eastern European kind of aesthetic to it. Okay. We were looking to do something that was sort of grounded, but with some style to it. So, it's got a lot of really dark tones. That palette's really kind of cool. But as you can see, it's very action oriented. It sets itself apart from, say, Harley Quinn and those kind of shows. It's I don't know, it feels more adult, I think.
Okay, that's what you mean.
How did you find working in animation? Did it free you up creatively? I mean, obviously all your work has...
This has been a really interesting experience. So I got the first finished episode back. This has been a long process because it takes a long time. And, I wrote the episodes, got the cast, we directed the cast, they all were fantastic. They start with animatics, they go through that, a few drafts of that, and it keeps changing and changing and changing and changing. I got the first episode back, I was like, oh, okay, well, I think this is going to be okay. Let me just preface this by saying, I started out as a screenwriter. Working with directors is really hard because you never have it as good as you imagine it in your brain, which is one of the reasons why I started working as a director. And I'm not the director, I directed the voice actors, but not the animation. And the first episode was good. Then the second episode, I was like, oh, shoot, wow, this is actually really good. Then it got to the fourth episode, and I'm like, this is the best experience I've ever had with a director who wasn't...
Okay, so my other little, critique or worry is, he said that The Flash was the greatest comic book film, ever, of all time. I think it was something along those lines. It was on his interview with Michael Rosenbaum.
That was the thing that when I walked on set. The crew, they were so amazing. And your DP, sorry for memory lapse. Henry
Bram, who shot Guardians 3, Suicide Squad, Guardians 2. He shot The Flash, which people are going to see is just one of the greatest movies ever made.
And so when he gets all this kind of hyperbolic, this is great, this is amazing, I always take it with a grain of salt. It looked good. The trailer looked good. I reacted to it. The trailer looked good. It looked like something I would enjoy. But, it's one of those things, I got to see it. And so, so when he does this, again, because of the Flash situation, I'm a little bit more skeptical about, it might be good. It might be great. But we'll see. We'll see.
Myself. And then episode 7 came about, and I'm like, this is better than myself. This is the best experience I've ever had on any project I've ever worked on, including Guardians, including the Avengers movies, including anything. And I just have been so proud of just everybody has come together in such a perfect way. This cast here, the guys over at Bobby Pills who did the animation, Dean and Rich and the guys over there, the guys Peter Girardi and the guys at Warner Brothers Animation. Everybody really pitched in to make it something beyond, I think, what any of us expected. And I think the cast felt that way, too, from all the text I was getting when they saw the first 4 episodes. And it gets even better after that.
So, okay, I want to get to the cast, but first just talk to me about, look, there's some folks that are new to you here. There are some folks that have obviously worked with you before. Yeah. What was the approach? Did you write with specific folks in mind? Obviously, there's some folks that we've seen before that you're writing
most people up here I actually wrote for. Obviously, Steve Agee was already John Economos in Peacemaker.
Yes, I remember him.
It's died again.
I love him.
Alan is somebody, he was my first choice for Dr. Phosphorus. Yeah. We've worked together a lot. He's been my friend. He's been in a bunch of stuff. So he was my first choice. I didn't write specifically for him, but I thought of him early on. Maria, I wrote for. She was the first person ever cast in the DCU. So I texted her because she speaks Bulgarian, and we needed to have Princess Rostovic, and we needed to hire everybody from that country, and they needed to speak the same language. So I wanted it to have, wanted it to be what Maria spoke. So she was hired. Next guy, what's the next guy's name again? Sean Gunn. Yeah, he, I wrote the character. He already played Weasel, and then I thought he'd be good at.
I didn't mean to do him. They killed all my friends.
Yeah, Robot. He's fantastic. Zoe, I had never met. She auditioned. She freaking killed me, and she kills me on the show. And the heart of Nina Mazursky, who is the heart of the show. She's, one of the leads, along with the Bride and Rick Flag.
Thanks, guys.
Harper is somebody who I've wanted to work with a lot.
Yeah. Lily Allen's husband.
Go on. He's a genius.
He's funny. He's funny.
He's the greatest person I've ever met.
I think that's good.
That's a little much.
You got TV
no, he's somebody I want to work with. We offered him the role of Frankenstein. Man, you guys, this version of Frankenstein goes back a lot to the original, version of Mary Shelley, and he's fantastic.
Yeah,
and then Grillo and I had talked about working together forever.
The Agent of Shade Frankenstein. So I went back and I have the Creature Commandos kind of compendium thing, or the collection of all the old ones, and then I went and started purchasing the other Creature Commandos comics. A lot digitally. I do digital comics too, because it's easy to just go to Amazon and get those. And so I liked the iteration right after the original. I like some of the other stuff, like when they introduced some of Nina and all them. But then they have this Agent of Shade Frankenstein, and I can't stand it. It's not my speed. So hopefully, I wanted to get away as far away from that one as possible. That's why I was a little worried. I know he's really into horror and stuff. So, and Agents of Shade is kind of more the weird horror stuff. So, yeah, we'll see. But Frankenstein, hopefully, like you said, Mary Shelley, the kind of, of course, the Frankenstein's monster, not Dr. Frankenstein, obviously. But hopefully we can get, that would be a really solid character. Not again going back to the old school, not necessarily Agents of Shade.
And, we've been, for probably 6-7 years, we've talked about doing something together. And when I came over to DC, I was like, I think I have the right thing.
Yeah, and I paid him some money, and it all worked out in my favor.
That's right.
So
that's how DC works now, payola.
Yeah.
Actually, one quick thing. Every time I see Grillo, the first time I saw Grillo was way, way, way back in the day. My grandmother loved the CBS soap operas. And he was on one of them. He was on one of the ones on CBS. So you had God and Light, you had As the World Turns, you had Bold and the Beautiful. God and Light, As the World Turns. Well, those are the ones I remember off the top of my head. But he was on one of them. I think maybe God and Light, maybe. And so every time I see him, I think about his big break, the soap opera, the soap opera. Now he's like a huge star in China. He's one of the highest paid actors in China. He always plays the villain American because look, it's very easy to villainize us. We're the world's bully, but and we think we're the world's savior. But either way, but yeah, every time I see him, I think that. But he's great. I love him. I love that. Love him as an actor. And he's very, very raw. He's very down to earth. Seems like a very real dude.
When in doubt, bribery works. That's the message today. Okay, so let's go down the line. Steve, obviously, you have some history with this character. Economist in this one, similar take on it? What is it? A totally different thing when you're in the VO booth as opposed to being on Peacemaker?
Economist is steadily staying the same.
Why
his arc
wouldn't
is
he?
a straight line to
funny.
awesomeness.
He's a regular human.
Yeah, he's
with all
not
this
a
weirdness
hero,
going
he's
on.
not a
He has no
monster.
powers.
He's just a terrified pussy, and
he's human. He's a man.
you saw that
regular man.
in Peacemaker season 1, and you'll see it in 2, and in this show as well.
Love it. Alan,
You got
Dr.
and you ain't got no
Phosphorus,
daggone
maybe the
powers.
coolest name
It's good to
of
be
the
scared.
group. Let's start there.
I'll take it. Yes.
Right?
Coolest name.
Talk to me a little bit about this character. What do we need to know? Is he a good hang? Tell us about Dr. Phosphorus.
He's not a good man. He's a monster. He's a homicidal killer and takes joy in causing pain. You do get his backstory. Everybody's gonna, you're gonna see where everybody came from.
It's in the trailer.
Their origins.
They put it in the trailer.
It's terrifying, and it's what created him. That's why they call it an origin story.
Oh, thanks, Alan.
Yep.
Wow.
He seems very similar to Dr. Manhattan a little bit.
I think I can't wait for everybody to see this because there's moments where you are shocked in horror and moved, and then by the same characters can make you laugh and then also make you cringe because they're so violent.
And that's how the original one was with the original, I think, Creature Commandos. Like, all these people were regular folks, and they got turned into these monsters. So, like, Frankenstein isn't really Frankenstein. He's another guy. He was a human being, and they got injured, and they put him together. And then Wolfman was not, had like a disorder. Vampire, it's all these different characters were created by essentially by scientists, and so we're gonna see. It seems like a very similar thing. Like, these are creatures. Some of them were like again, just based on the trailer. Some of them it's kind of like by accident, or like just with Dr. Phosphorus, like by basically that was done to him, or like with Nina. She was a science experiment. She was she was created by science. So, but these are basically people who were turned into these monsters, and they have to live with this even as they're doing these different assignments.
Screwed up. That's my character. He's one of those people.
Maria, you are not a creature commando. We can say that. Where do you fit into this storyline here? Where does Ilana Rostovic fit in?
Well, I got to work with James Gunn on Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was so
the doggy,
excited
the good dog,
that this is happening because he's not only incredibly, extraordinarily talented writer, director, leader,
I'm not trying to make fun,
but the nicest human being that I got to meet. So when Guardians ended, I was like, oh no, why am I getting here so late? I'm never going to see him again. And then one day I got a message. I'm writing something, thinking of you. She's going to be this femme fatale Disney princess, and it's going to be part of Creature Commandos.
Wrong company, not Disney.
Look out for it. And I was like, what? Is it really going to happen? And then it happened. And it's an original character that he developed, and I'm humbled and honored to play it. It's interesting.
Amazing. Sean, we get to see the return of Weasel, but we also see, yes. GI robots.
Yeah.
Educate us. What do we need to know?
Yeah. The Weasel, I know that the public had been really clamoring for more Weasel after the Suicide Squad. It wasn't nearly enough. But it was really cool being able to explore his arc.
Guess what? I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.
You get to learn a lot more about the Weasel, for better or for worse, which is very cool. And then of course, G.I. Robot. It's nice to play a character that doesn't just screech and squeal and lick. A lot of licking.
G.I. Robot
but
from the
G.I.
original,
Robot
G.I. Robot 2 from the
hates
original
Nazis,
Guardians
which
of the Galaxy.
I hate Nazis. So it was really, I could immediately have something to sink my teeth into, and I love both these characters. I love this show. It's really, as James is saying, it's one of the. I've been working with him forever, and it was one of my favorite things. I was like, is this my favorite thing he's ever written? That's crazy. And it might be. I just really, really love it.
I mean, I get this.
Again,
I have to pause it because again, with copyright claims. But I mean, I get what these panels are for. They're trying to sell the show, so I get that part. So I'm not. When I say when I seems like I'm getting annoyed with how like over flowery it is, it's not that I don't understand why they're doing it. It's just still to hear this like, okay, like I can't wait to see the show. Like if I could be eating my own words and eat crow, that maybe everything they're saying is spot on. That really it is that great, you know. But again, I'm always like, again, Flashpoint, and I like parts of Flashpoint. I didn't hate Flashpoint. Definitely it could have been better. I did like, and actually I liked the part when you had the multiverse. I know some people hated it and stuff, but I like the multiverse thing. So the idea that you can, you can have these different iterations, like we saw in Flashpoint, interact with each other. Though, you know, there's always the issues with multiverses. Sometimes it kills stakes where somebody dies in your main universe, where you can just bring in another version. So that's my only issue with the multiverse. At the same time, I mean, there could be some cool crossover stuff, especially like we saw with Deadpool and Wolverine, which again, for people who hate the multiverse, that movie made a lot of money. It was really good. So, you know, you could have like a situation where characters from other aspects of the DC universe could end up interacting together in some interesting ways.
We have a lot of Comic-Con veterans in the house. Ladies and gentlemen, Zoe Chow's first Comic-Con. Make her feel welcome. Nina Mazursky, not necessarily a name I would associate with a superhero team, but she's a part of it. Tell us about her.
She is. She is an aquatic being.
So Nina is she's
can
Nina,
only breathe in water. She wears a water suit and a water helmet tank.
The other one, the girl
night,
is the original creator.
Goes to sleep in a bathtub when she takes off her suit, and she's arguably the kindest and most reasonable of this bunch. And even though she has a tragic origin story, she remains a very open and feeling character, and is kind of the pathos in this season. And I think that's her superpower.
How does she eat?
Oh, I'll tell you, Frank. She puts food into the chute that's in her collar, and then it bubbles up into her helmet, and then she eats the food. And I really hope we get to do that live action.
Yes, live action.
David Harbour, the always humble, calm, sedate David Harbour. Come on.
What's up, Comic-Con?
He's been here before.
New York Comic-Con. I live in Brooklyn. I'm a nerd like all of you. I love it. Speaking of kind and reasonable characters,
Frankenstein obviously comes to mind. What's your Frankenstein? Recognizable? James was talking about going to source material a bit, the ages. Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, it's definitely its own take for sure. But, you know, you do have this Frankenstein and the Bride story, which has a bit of a traditional thing to it. And I was, when, you know, he sent me the script, I've loved the character of Frankenstein. I think it's because, you know, it's just sort of in my wheelhouse that if you have like a large person who sort of has the inner workings of a tantrumy 4-year-old, you're going to want to get David Harbour. But I really love, you know, the story of Frankenstein's monster being this being that was created to be like a companion, this erudite companion who just is kind of off kilter and then finds himself needing a mate and having no one, and so one is created for him, and that's not the way to get a girl.
Nope.
Apparent, as you'll see, spoiler alert. But yeah, again, you know, like everybody's saying,
AI,
I sound like just aping everyone else's comments, but it is
heading towards,
you know, it's a familiar theme, but it's a very original take, and it's some beautiful storytelling, and I just love the character, and I think people will be really surprised by it, as I was.
Mr. Frank Grillo, we are so happy you're a part of this, man.
Yeah.
as James said, it sounds like you've had conversations over the years. So when it finally happened, when he finally came to you and said, Frank, I've got it, what's that phone call like? How much of a give and take is there?
Yeah, I think all of us can agree that when Gunn calls you, I think he got like the couple of words out, and it was like, hey, I got this thing. I went, okay. and that was kind of it. And then, as he said, we got all the scripts at one time, and I read it, and I was like, wow, this is special. And why do you want me? And I, fell in love with it immediately. And it's a character that's kind of in my wheelhouse, like the grizzled ex-military troubled guy who's got to be the straight man and take care of all these maniacs. And it was a lot of fun. I got to work with David in the booth, and I was on the ground most of the time because he had me hysterical laughing for about 4 hours and then crying a little bit. He got me. Yeah.
There's a bit of a bromance between Frankenstein and Rick Flag Sr., which comes easy.
Yeah.
When you're working with someone
very old guy.
Go on.
Devilishly handsome.
Go on.
That's
Go
Frank
on.
Grillo.
Go on.
But it was a really fun little element, and we got to, because in animation a lot of times you don't meet anyone you work with. Like I haven't met any of the rest of you. Hi. But Frank and I were in the booth together. There's a lot of kind of overlapping. We played around a little bit. It was a lot of fun.
It was great. It was great. And then Maria and I we have in the show, we have a very steamy X-rated kind of scene, which I watched with my 16-year-old son, who was fairly traumatized.
Just for the record, X-rated is pushing it.
No.
That's Frank Grillo. He's like, let me just tell you this thing that we have. And obviously people are like, what, you're 16? He's a kid. Why are you going for showing him? But no, that's I've seen him do some interviews and stuff, and he's just like, I don't know. Like, I like Frank Grillo. He seems like a really cool guy. He's like, he'd be a good hang, as long as you ain't on no bullshit. But yeah, this is funny. Really interesting.
Oh, I mean, it's not X-rated.
It's a love scene.
It's a steamy scene. Yeah,
it's a hard
It's
R.
tastefully done.
Yeah, it's a hard. No, I mean, come on, it's a hard R. You can say that. He's 4,000 of our closest friends, right? Right. Anyway, it was a lot of fun.
I got the best video ever of, because I was in Zoom, they were both in the booth, and I took video of them because they have to, they're having sex.
Simulate.
And I have video of Frank and Maria in the booth, trying to coax them into this scene, and they're moaning and they're making out and kissing. And they're both just like making out with their hands. And I've got this video of them that I will release when episode 2 comes out.
No, you won't.
Yeah, I will.
Frank Grillo will legit beat him up.
Further embarrassment for my 16-year-old son.
It's a really great scene. I watched it 30 or 40 times, and it's really excellent.
Right. Anybody else have any embarrassing committed to the cause efforts in the booth? Because you can look like a fool in a booth
spoil
when
anymore.
You're really hitting 150%.
I mean, I knew there was probably a sex scene.
Anything you guys had
but
to
don't
do in the booth
spoil
that,
anymore.
in retrospect, if you had a camera on you, you're embarrassed about?
Well,
I hate when they try to spoil. Don't spoil so much. Like, they keep saying it's the greatest thing ever, and then they want to spoil it. Stop it. Stop it.
Every line Sean did was embarrassing. By Weasel.
My superpower is I guess I don't get embarrassed. I don't know why. I just shut that off at some point. But yeah, there's a lot of like, as I mentioned the licking, there's a whole lot of like, can we get a longer, slower lick here, And I'm a professional, so I'm like, of course, that's what I'm going to give you. I'm not embarrassed.
Yeah.
You're embarrassed. I don't.
So he was doing it for a while, and he was waiting for somebody to call cut, and finally he said, "Am I done licking myself?"
Yeah, can I?
James, you've said before that the intention is potentially to see some of these characters in live action. So does that inform how they are animated in that you don't want to go too far? You want to be able to convey them if and when you go live action. Does it influence?
Well, absolutely. Not only do we want to, but I mean, Rick Flag appears in Superman. He appears in...
I knew that already.
He's a major character in Peacemaker Season 2.
So he's already in live action.
And so, yeah, when we cast the characters, we wanted to cast people that could play those characters in live action, at least for the major characters. So that was something that we just thought of from the beginning. I also have to give a shout out to Indira Varma, who's not here.
Yes.
Who really is, who couldn't be here today, but she's incredible on the show. The Bride is, in a lot of ways, the protagonist of the show. And
yes,
she's just amazing. And so I just want to mention her. Also, we have some great people that came in for guest spots for us.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Michael Rooker played a character on Peter Serafinowicz.
He was amazing.
Linda Cardellini. Ben Davis from plays Dutch, and so it's like just these who you hear in the trailer actually, but all these wonderful people. Greg Henry, of course, who plays Zoe's dad. Really amazing actors overall who just have all put themselves into this.
I hope you're enjoying the video, but before we go any further, I just want to quickly shout out my Patreon page, Dr. Jason Freeman Reacts. On the page, I have full unedited reactions from movies such as the classic 1995 film Dead Presidents and the 2020 film A Quiet Place Part 2. I also have reactions for entire seasons of shows, including Season 2 of House of the Dragon and the first season of Doctor Who on Disney Plus, starring Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson. And for those of you who purchase my highest tier, you'll be receiving a few tokens of my appreciation, including a mug, a tote bag, and some clothing with a Diaspora Dispatch logo designed by yours truly. To get access to all this, just go to my Patreon page and sign up for one of the tiers. You can find a link for it in the description of this video, or just type patreon.com/DRJASONFREEMAN. Thank you for listening. Now back to the video.
Is it, speaking of the looks of them in animation and live action, Frank, is it true when you saw the animation version that it kind of influenced how you were going to be shown in Season 2 of Peacemaker? You kind of looked at how you animated?
I did. I wanted to cut my hair the same way. I wanted to make it white, kind of like what James has going on. I really wanted to look exactly like that. I wanted somebody's body imposed over mine. But I was doing another show at the time, Tulsa King, and I was like, I had longer hair, and we kind of had to reverse engineer my hair because of, and so I never got to do, but in Season 3, I think maybe. What?
You go suddenly completely.
Yeah, I go white, and maybe I could cut my hair a little bit. Yeah.
We get it as close as we can.
We did, yeah. But people have asked, like, is my hair white and stuff? And I'm like, no, it's not.
It must be invaluable for you guys, though, because I assume you saw renderings of your characters when you're in the VO booth. How did that inform your portrayals of the characters?
I didn't see the character drawing till afterwards, but I know what John Economist looks like because I've already been doing it.
Zoe, did you see Nina? Did you see Nina before you recorded?
No.
Oh, really?
I don't think so, but I was like, there are my gills.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm so...
How do you know? Okay, we kind of alluded to this before. You talked about kind of a love scene in the show, but like the ability to go big and weird and extreme in animation, like how far to push it. Is that just an internal barometer you have for yourself?
Well, there was one thing in the show I remember that I thought was too much, and I pulled it back a little bit, but not very much.
No, I mean, for the most part, when you have actors this great, you're just giving little nudges one way or another.
Yeah.
Can we also allude to maybe the structure of the show, which I found very interesting, in that this does tell a single story while at the same time exploring the backstories, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we stole it from Lost, but basically it's, the first episode is, you just see the team come together, but then every episode after that.
It's a cork, malevolence, and stole it from Lost. That's funny.
That explores the backstory of one of these characters. Not necessarily the origin, in some places the origin, but just something from their past that we see about how they got to the place where they are today. And we get to know these characters in a much more intimate way because of that, and I think it's a really fun way to get to know them. And you see that some of them are a lot better than maybe we think they are at the beginning of the series, and some of them are even worse. Right? So it's really.
So just quickly, I think the Weasel one might be the misdirection, because in the Suicide Squad, they talk about I think the Flag, the Junior, the one that got killed. He basically mentioned about him eating children.
When is an Afghan hand bloody thumbs? Oh my God! Is it a werewolf? I wanted to meet a werewolf forever. Yo, they turned me into a werewolf? Right. Yo, let me know. I'm not a werewolf.
Yeah, he's not a werewolf, okay? He's a weasel. He's harmless. I mean, he's not harmless. He's killed 27 children, but, you know, we got him to, I think he's agreed to do this. Whatever the case, just everyone get into position to drop.
So killing children. So there's a chance that the Weasel thing was a misdirection, that maybe he was hiding them, protecting them, and that he wasn't really eating them. Because that's always like, you got this character, and if you know he's done that or is capable of that, it kind of kills some of the, rooting for him. Like, what? This thing is a monster. Like, why am I I want them to kill this thing. So yeah, that's my guess, that maybe he's not, or maybe he's changed or something. But that was something that, again, I guess it seemed like almost like a throwaway line in the Suicide Squad about him eating children. But I mean, you have him with children in the trailer, and he has a kid in his mouth. But he's like the shirt, not the actual kid. So not like his flesh or anything. So maybe the Weasel is the one that is maybe not as bad as we think he is. But then you have the other characters, like maybe Rick Flag might be a monster, but he's a monster for the U.S. government.
Fun. I think that a lot of people have said to me, well, this is Guardians of the Galaxy. It's about a team of misfits coming together. And I'm like, well, there's some truth to that. But the truth is, this is like, at the end of the day, with the Guardians of the Galaxy, you know that those characters are all good people and animals and trees. This isn't necessarily the case. This is kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy with the sentimentality stripped back, because the characters aren't all perfect and the stories aren't perfect, and characters die, and it isn't always for a purpose, like when Yondu dies at the end of Guardians 2. Sometimes it's just a tragic circumstance, and it's a darker story than that in a lot of ways, but hopefully equally invigorating.
That being said, I mean,
it's very similar to Suicide Squad. So again, that's where you might have, again, maybe another critique here, is that if it's basically a Suicide Squad with monsters, I mean, which there are, at least, the shark, the shark creature in the Suicide Squad, but I mean, it could be argued that it's just kind of like lacking some originality. But again, we'll see, and I'm gonna give it give a chance. But yeah, it's definitely makes me think about like the Suicide Squad. But this one, basically all of them, I mean, even Weasel was in the Suicide Squad, but all of these are like monsters rather than having, I don't know, like Harley Quinn, who's basically a human, she's just crazy.
Seen 4 of them. It is hugely emotional. I don't tend to cry or get emotional watching animation short of Pixar, but you go there. You really do push it, and it's very effective.
Yeah, I mean, I remember writing one of the episodes, I don't even know which I should say which one, episode 4. I won't say who it's about. And I walked I was in Colorado with my wife, Jen, and
yeah, she's awesome.
And I walked into the kitchen and I was like, I think this is the saddest thing I've ever written in my entire life. It is really heartbreaking. And I could feel it in my bones how sad it was. It also happened to be the episode that I was the most insane about getting right,
Yeah, you were really really on top of that one. Yeah. But it was great. And when we were working on the episodes, I give a big shout out to.
Let's see if it beats episode 5 of X-Men 97. That's the saddest thing.
Sugar. I can't feel you.
Rick Morales, who was our animation supervisor, did an amazing job. As we'd finish each episode, we'd come in and see each other and go, is this as good as we think it is? And it was just like, it kept growing, and we fell in love with the project as we were working on it.
I assume by now, most, if not all of you, have seen some of the episodes. What struck you? I mean, obviously, it goes to a whole other level. You're in the VO booth, you read the scripts, but then see all the art come together must be a trip. What struck you? What surprised you?
It's sexy. Ooh, it's so sexy.
Super sexy.
Yeah. You're not used to it in animation. I mean, I'm not. That's not the kind of stuff I watch. But it's a French company, right? A French animation.
Yeah, Bobby Pills, and they're fantastic. They're really incredible partners throughout this whole process.
They invented tongue kissing, so they know about sexy. And there's sex in this. It is an adult show, and it has all the adult things. One of those things is sex.
Sex.
Yeah.
So much sex. I thought Bobby Pills was a guy.
It's a great name for a guy.
Hi, I'm Bobby Pills. I animate.
I thought it was a woman.
I knew that, when we started this process that, Maria's character, the princess, and that, Rick Flag, people were going to think they were attractive people. But what I've been sort of surprised by is the amount of people that are attracted to Nina Mazursky online.
Oh. Okay. I was thinking the bride.
Are you aware
a
of this?
lot of like, oh my God, the fish girl, with the sweaty tongue out emoji.
James told this to me earlier, and I am gobsmacked. But cool.
And Weasel, right? And Weasel, a lot of people.
Not as much.
Not the Weasel.
And Frankenstein. Give Frankenstein some love, obviously.
Back to your original question, Josh. I think for me it's like as you said, James, it's something about the unexpectedness of you find yourself falling into these characters as you're watching the episodes and falling into the emotion, and then they'll do something really. And you're like, oh, that's not a good thing. I don't like. You're not going to actually just murder that. Oh, I guess you are. And there's something about that.
Yeah, and that was the thing in the comic, in the Creature Commandos comic, that these weren't necessarily good people. I mean, they had a mission. They had to go kill Nazis, and so it's just they did some damage. They messed some people up. No, it was just, there's some messed up stuff in that comic, but it's part of we pushing the envelope. We see it with the boys, we see it with Invincible. When you push the envelope, you go to some dark places, and also with Peacemaker too.
That unnervingness that I really enjoy. Everything's unexpected. There isn't a sentimentality to it. You're not sure where it's going to go. You do fall in love with the characters, and I think you feel things for them. But then they also will do things that it will infuriate you, and I really like that. But I'm a weirdo.
That's where you're in the right place.
It's all
Don't
about
worry.
the story. It's all about the story.
Dean, obviously you have extensive experience in animation before. What do you think you brought from Harley Quinn, et cetera, to this project? How do you take it to the next level? What do you take the learnings from there to Creature Commandos?
Well, maybe the one thing that this shares in common with Harley and Kite Man to some extent is, even though those are comedies, pretty clearly comedies, we took them seriously dramatically. We took the relationships very seriously. When there was a death or anything like that, we wanted people to feel it. And so that was a little bit of a crossover, because this gave us an opportunity to more fully do that than we could do in a pure comedy like those shows.
There's the audience. Creature Commandos. Start them young. Okay, who's jealous of another character on the stage? If you could play a different character other than your own, having now read the scripts, seen the show, is your own character your favorite, David? I can see you're quizzical. Look at me.
What did you ask? If you could play a character
play any other character in the cast.
A character other than Frankenstein, who would you play?
Thank you for translating.
Would I play?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, the fish girl.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you expect him to say?
That checks out, yeah.
No, I don't. Fish.
He's an actor. In theory, he could do any. He's an actor. He could do Phosphorus.
Yeah, I
he
won't be
could
the
do
fish girl.
Economos.
Who you want
He
to
could
be?
do the Weasel. He's an actor.
Well, to be honest, Nina really resonates with me. She this is an earnest answer, but she struggles all of her life to sort of find her tribe and where she belongs, and you know, she's half human, half fish, and I am biracial. And that it does kind of sound silly to talk about it in 2024, but like I grew up in the 90s and, you know, white community and stuff. So yeah, what was so compelling about Nina's story is how she remains so open to unexpected relationships, friendships, like with G.I. Robot and Bride, even though she's been shunned by so many people in the past. So I ride for Nina.
Wow, so that's 2 votes for the fish girl.
I'd play Economos because it's so easy. Like, that dude barely does anything.
Yeah, it's true.
Right, you don't have to work very hard to play Economos.
Yeah,
that's like any actor.
You could just you could just pick an actor at random.
Yeah,
and they do a
So you gotta be Sorry, I keep looking at it. You gotta be friends with somebody to be able to say that and not like because you gotta keep because this is gonna be a multi-season show. So you gotta keep working with this guy. So I'm assuming they're pretty tight. They're pretty cool for him to say that. I'm assuming. Maybe something comes out later because like those Guns were assholes.
Fine job, Adam.
We can pick anybody out of this crowd, and they would do just as fine a job.
Fucking right here, man. I can hear you.
That's why
Do
they're
you have a
saying.
rebuttal, Steve? Are you okay?
I'm not.
I'd play Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
Viola
the same way you play Economos, or would it be different?
I honestly can barely hear anything anybody is saying. But yes.
It is a treat getting Viola Davis, come on, to be a part of the show
Viola
again.
was
Oscar award-winning.
She's one of my favorite actors I've ever worked with, if not my very favorite. She's such a great woman. And when she was the last major character that we recorded, and when she came in, we had other people doing that role. They did a great job that were, placeholders. And when Viola came in and did, Amanda, it just grounded it so well, and she's so incredible in the show. Gets a chance to do a little bit of humorous stuff too, and some emotional.
The thing with Amanda Waller, though, so in the original Suicide Squad, she was also played by Viola Davis. So my assumption, based on what he just said, is because I don't think he was with actually, I'm pretty sure he was not with the original Suicide Squad movie that came out years ago. So my guess is that they had potentially thought about maybe recasting that particular character. But when Viola came in and essentially probably had an audition for her role that she already had, when she came into the next Suicide, the sequel, then it's like, okay, so she is going to remain Amanda Waller again because she was already in the role before he did his version of the Suicide Squad, where they basically changed. They had a whole new set of people. So yeah, it's interesting. Did she actually have to audition for her own role? I mean,
stuff, and she's just really brought everything together, and I'm so fortunate to have her as a person in my life and in my creative life.
What was the process of, because it obviously has links to Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad, and kind of picking and choosing what to retain from those to bring to this?
Well.
Yeah,
it's really, for me, it's all first and foremost about story. We don't want anybody coming to Creature Commandos and going, oh, you have to watch the Suicide Squad to understand what happened in Creature Commandos. Oh, you have to watch Peacemaker. We want people to be able to come in this totally blind, and they're totally excited by it. So there's nothing that isn't explained in the show itself. However, there are references to some other things that happened in the past, and those things then become canon in the DCU because we mention them in this show. So we have references to Peacemaker situations.
That's interesting. So, yeah, the whole canon thing. So because he, it's not that he's building this whole thing from scratch. He has to kind of build this on top of the framework that's already there. So he is, or let me tell you, maybe he doesn't have to, but he's choosing to building on the framework that's already there. Partially because he had Peacemaker in the DCEU. before he was again told to take over and create this new thing called a DCU. So it's interesting that he's if anything is mentioned from the previous era, this DCEU, it's now canon. So my assumption is that's going to be kind of the working framework. So in the for example, in the Creature Commandos, they're going to mention probably the son, the Rick Flag Jr. being killed. They're going to mention Weasel's involvement with the original the Suicide Squad from the movie. Peacemaker's probably going to be mentioned in there at various points. You got Economos again, so he may mention working with something happened with the Peacemaker. So all that stuff will be kind of brought in gradually. So it kind of makes sense a little bit in that when he said that the canon is from basically, I think, from this Creature Commandos on. That's canon. That basically, as they kind of do it, they're going to kind of pick and choose, almost like with the Star Wars universe. You have the Legends, you have the original, the original like Spectres of the Past. Do I have that here? Yeah. So you have elements from, for example, this book here, like for example, the main protagonist, Admiral Thrawn. He's in this book, and so they brought him from this into the now canon. Though they could do anything they want to with the character, and he could be totally different from this book, but as long as Thrawn is kind of brought in, but the character started here basically, as far as I know. And basically they can do anything they want to, because just because it was mentioned it's from the original doesn't necessarily mean it has to be followed strictly, because the Disney Star Wars is its own thing.
For us, we learned a little bit that your son died. We learned that other things that have happened in the past in other media have still happened.
And there are, safe to say, we obviously know Frank, Steve, we will see again in live action, but there are plans afoot. You are thinking of how to utilize this amazing cast.
Absolutely. We have ideas for other things, and a couple of these people may appear in other media, as other characters, soon.
Interesting. Speaking of other media,
what does that even mean?
You've been a busy man. There is a lot on the DCU plate.
Okay, here we go.
Give us some updates. Let's start.
Honestly, I'll be honest with you. If it was just Creature Commandos, stop laughing. If it was just a Creature Commandos panel, I probably wouldn't be doing this reaction, but because I want, I'm going to be reacting to and reviewing and kind of following the DCU going forward, I want to know what's happening. I want to have a heads up, and so that's one of the reasons why I'm watching this particular panel. So, yeah, here we go. Get some. It doesn't have a lot of time left. So only like 8 minutes and 44 seconds left, really right about 8 minutes left in this video. So, it's not gonna be a lot revealed, but just anything. Kind of good to kind of see what's happening. Get some info.
We've been talking a little bit about Peacemaker. We just saw there's a new helmet for our Peacemaker. So,
it's an old helmet. It was from season 1 that Steve Agee took from season 1. So not a new helmet. It's an old helmet.
Fair enough. So
there are new helmets, but that's not
the helmet he didn't wear.
Yeah, Peacemaker is. We're shooting it now. Right? I shot till late last night and then came in today for this. I have to go back and shoot on Monday. The new series has been going exceptionally well.
Okay.
Somewhere we have Greg Mottola in the audience.
Let me say okay. Of course, he's gonna say it went well.
Great director of Superbad and other fine films, who directed 2 of the best Peacemaker episodes ever in episodes 2 and 3 of season 2. And
Superbad
it's going exceptionally well. John Cena has improved.
Cena, man. Oh, I gotta say this. I gotta say this. Like, I remember Cena. I mean, I'm old. I'm in my 40s. So I remember watching the extreme era of was it not the Attitude? I'm gonna say Attitude era of WWE, was rocking all them, and then eventually they had Tough Enough, and you had some of them people come in, and then in all that midst you had like Randy Orton that was brought in, who was not on Tough Enough, but he was brought in, and then you had Cena, this guy with these shorts on, no shirt on, and him messing with Kurt Angle. And I'm like, who is this guy? Like, this big old muscle dude, like, he can't wrestle. And then he went from that, just kind of the John Cena, whatever, messing with him and his thing with with Kurt Angle, and eventually he became like a superstar. So I'm like, okay, he's got the backwards hat, Marky Mark thing going on. And then Peacemaker season 1 I watched, and I'm like, this dude is actually he's great at this. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna say he's a great actor, but in regards to like the character and this superhero character and the comedy, he's amazing. Like, he's really, really good. So yeah, that was a pleasant surprise, because you just never know with wrestlers and people like that, because you just don't know, because they're it's very physical, it's acrobatics, but he actually is really funny, really good timing, just really great character.
Way that I have like honest to God, I have never seen anyone who has gotten so much better in such a short amount of time. He was great in the first season. What
just happened?
And the rest of the cast is all there. The 11th Street Kids, as they're called, and we're having a great time shooting that. And it's a very different season of Peacemaker, very magical.
I'm just excited to see him back in the costume on the press tour again. I hope he commits. I know he will. He always does. Superman. We are very excited. Next summer, Superman. You recently showed...
Just a quick thing. Low-key, one of the greatest Superman, if you go on YouTube and find it, was a 1930s or 1940s Superman, where he's like fighting gorillas and lasers and stuff. Now that's the kind of Superman I want to see. Like, I want to see that Superman, because the idea that Superman always comes out there and he kicks off his stuff no matter what's happening, because Lois gets in trouble every week. She does something stupid to get in trouble, so he comes out to take out stuff. He gets his butt kicked for like half the cartoon, half the animation. He just gets whooped, like Superman gets whooped, and he always comes back and fights and overcomes the thing. But he still gets whooped. He's getting beat down. I want to see that Superman. I want to see Superman go up against like a villain, kind of like, hey guy, back up, and get the snot beat out of him, and then has to come back, kind of like almost like John Cena or The Rock, in wrestling, and find some way to overcome. Like, that's what I want to see with this Superman, because he's been overpowered. It's like with the turning time backwards. None of that foolishness. But this, I want to see him go up against a formidable villain and have to really work and have to kind of earn that win.
Off Crypto.
Yeah, we have Crypto in the house. Yeah, Crypto's been something that has been just amazing. We've been working with him in the edit, and he's just he's an incredible part of the story. He was an incredible part of the story to me personally. When I was writing the screenplay, he kind of came in and changed everything up. And the movie is going extraordinarily well. We're deep in the process of editing. David Corn Sweat is going to blow people the fuck away. Like,
sexy.
He is the movie star that that everyone just dreams he could possibly be, and I don't think anyone really understands the depth of this guy's talent. Dramatically,
he's gotta be earnest.
Comedically,
he's gotta be like the farm
he's the
born
best
earnest.
physical, action star I've probably ever worked with, except for
Yeah, take it down a notch.
Except for Frank.
Let's take it easy. I've heard
Except for
your stories.
Frank. He's an amazing actor, and Rachel Brosnahan, people are going to die for her as Lois.
I still
Eddie
exist.
Kentucky is Mr. Terrific. So it's really been it's been a great process. The edit is getting really close to being good. I mean, the movie's good, so it's like I feel good about it, and it's I'm really hard on stuff, so it's been fantastic.
Is there any footage on you? Do you have the trailer on you? Do you have is there a trailer yet?
No, see, now you're teasing them. No, I don't have a trailer, guys. Don't get too excited. There's no trailer. No Superman trailer. On the phone? No, I have some stuff on my phone.
Yeah, but
everybody, let's rush him and get his phone.
Yes. I'm like, come on, man.
I took it off me just in case people attacked me.
Smart man.
Somebody in the audience has it. You have to guess who. There's lots of stuff. It won't be too long before we see a trailer, but it's also not going to be too soon.
little update on Supergirl. We have a director. We have a Supergirl, obviously.
Yes.
What can you tease about the story we're going to see for Supergirl on the big screen?
Well,
before we get to Supergirl, what does that mean? When he said it won't be too long, I was getting excited a little bit. I'm like, wait, hold up, they got Christmas? Like it'll be a perfect Super Bowl trailer. The reason I say that is, the Super Bowl still is a big event. You got a really good halftime show that's coming. Got Kendrick Lamar's gonna be doing a halftime show, and they typically unveil a lot of cool stuff over during the Super Bowl. So my hope is that they actually do the same thing with this trailer. I know he said not too long. I mean, it's October, and so Super Bowl will be the perfect time. Perfect time to have the trailer come out. We can I can do some reaction. I go do a reaction. I might do a reaction in my, if I find a spot, go do a reaction to that. But yeah, I'm thinking Super Bowl will be a good time to do the trailer for the Superman movie.
So, Anna and Craig, the writer and the director, have been doing a fantastic job of spearheading this.
Let's talk about Supergirl.
We start shooting in England in January.
So cool, man.
I just saw, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I just saw the screen test for Ruthie with Millie Alcock, who's playing Supergirl. Yeah. And oh my God, I'm so excited.
Season 1.
And and that's another project that's just been blessed from the beginning. Anna came in and she pitched the story to me of Supergirl, and it was just one of the best pitches I'd ever heard. And she immediately wrote it. She came in with the first draft that was great, and it's just gotten better and better. And then Craig has been incredibly easy to work
good amount of. This was good. This was really good.
I can't wait for that one to come out. It's very much based on Tom King's comic Woman of Tomorrow.
Okay.
There are, of course, differences because it's a 3-act structure, so it's a little bit different in the structure of which kind of goes through various stories. But it has all those major characters, the major themes. Supergirl's a mess, and it's
she's
traumatized. Something I can't wait for people to see. I think it's a completely different, unique take on a superhero.
And talking about unique takes, it sounds like the Green Lantern story we're going to see in Lanterns is different than we've ever seen.
Oh my God!
We're all very excited about this. The casting has just come together.
Yeah.
Aaron Pierre, Kyle Chandler.
That's right. Well, Aaron Pierre is somebody who I've wanted to work together with for a long time.
You got the cosmic aspects of all these threats, but then it's Earth, and it's probably gonna be very grounded to some extent as well, much more grounded than the animated stuff. So yeah, I'm actually excited about this. To kind of see, just kind of again, you have these kind of whatever crime or whatever's happening, and they're like police, they're like cosmic police, and so it's I'm excited. It'd be kind of cool to kind of see what they do with this, how they're gonna incorporate the world, our world, into this kind of Green Lantern kind of stuff, make it a little bit more grounded.
People don't know, but he was almost Adam Warlock. He's an amazing actor, and I've just really admired him from the beginning of his career. And so when it got down to it, he was just fantastic. And seeing him read with Kyle was sort of one of those miraculous moments where you go, oh my God, I don't care what they're saying. I just love everything they're saying together. Chris, Damon, and Tom have put this thing together. It's another project that's been blessed from the beginning. It's something, when we first started the DCU, in the first couple of weeks of heading this up, we got together with a group of writers, and Tom King was one of those writers, and we were in this room, and we came up with sort of this concept for Lanterns, and then we got Chris and Damon involved, and it just kind of has come out very easily, very naturally. It's a much more... it's a very grounded series, a very real series, which is strange to say in a Green Lantern show, but it's going to be something like nobody's ever seen before, and I can't wait for people to catch it on HBO when it comes out.
You've got a lot on your plate, sir, so we thank you for lending your time to us today. The DCU is in good hands with Mr. James Gunn. Folks, Creature Commandos, if I haven't said it enough, It's coming out December 5th. It will be your new obsession. It's fantastic. Before we all go, I just want to say we're going to show a slide here. This is a first look at the first Creature Commandos product available right now, including a first look at Funko's collection. If we could see the slide.
Oh, the Funko thing.
There it is. You can go to dc.com and DC shop. That's shop.dc.com. And more info is coming soon, so definitely keep an eye out for that.
And Zoe's walking around with a whole bag full of Nina Mazurski's.
So they coming. I'm going to do unboxing.
Everybody's new crush.
I got to do unboxing.
Everybody's new crush. Everybody give it up one more time for James Gunn, the amazing cast of Creature Commandos.
Can I just say thank you guys for the warm welcome. Thank you for everything. I've never been to New York Comic-Con, and I'm just so appreciative to be here. I love you guys. Thank you for all your love and support online. I really appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, and so my last kind of thoughts on this whole thing is that, you know, the thing I'm excited about most with the DCU isn't necessarily the idea of them all coming together, because one of my takes, and this is something I don't think I've said this in any of the previous stuff I've ever said, is that I wasn't always sold on having a Warner Brothers DC shared universe. Because you think about the history of the DC properties, they've been so good with the standalone projects. The Dark Knight being, I think, if not, one of the best, if not the best superhero show of all time. The original Joker, I have not seen Folie à Deux. I heard enough about it. Whatever. The sequel, it's kind of like the Matrix 2 and 3. They should have never happened. This should have never happened. This was just a money grab because they made $1 billion. But either way, the first Joker, one of the best, amazing standalone. The Christopher Reeves Superman, which they did bring in like 4. I think Superman 4 had some whack ass solar man or whatever, and Superman's solar powered himself, which was stupid. so that the Christopher Reeves, like the original Superman, just kind of take your pick. There's some great standalone DC properties out there, and even. So the idea that you have to have a shared universe, I think, is just more of a MCU thing, which itself was an accident. So I wasn't always sold on them having a shared universe. But I think what I'm most excited about is that I think we're gonna have some really cool stories based on what I've seen that have the potential for crossover. And so I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that you're gonna have a Lantern show, and then you can have them run into Peacemaker, or have them seek out the help of Superman, or maybe have them go after Superman if something crazy happens, that type of thing. Because there are cosmic police. Darkseid, I think, will pop up, because again, we're talking about the DC. They have if we're gonna bring all these people together, there has to be a big combined threat. So I think Darkseid will pop up. So the Lanterns dealing with Darkseid, and then you have all these other things that are gonna be happening at the same time. The threat, how are they gonna react to these new bigger threats that's coming into Earth? They're maybe used to dealing with more the smaller things, and now they have to come together with all these other heroes to kind of deal with this big figure. So I think there's some potential, some really good stories. I know Swamp Thing's eventually coming. There'll be another Batman, though. My thing with Batman, I like the Pattinson Batman, and so what are they gonna do with this other Batman? I'm kind of getting. It seems like Robin probably be the center of that one, just because that's something new. It's kind of almost like with the Brave and the Bold. You have the young Robin, the young Superman, like Superboy, basically. Diana's daughter. So it's maybe something like that. Like maybe focus on Damian, but I don't know. It's interesting to see these different stories, and that's what I'm excited most about. That DC is going to have some really interesting new stories, some different stuff that's coming, like we've seen with the Penguin as well, which I have not seen yet. I've heard the review, so I'm actually going to watch it and kind of just give my overall take on it once the season is over. But I'm excited about these new stories, about the crossover potential, and I think when they finally do bring a big villain in, to kind of see how all these these characters kind of work together or maybe work against each other depending on what happens. So, yep. So I'm glad I saw this panel. I'm really excited about Creature Commandos and what we're going to get. And yeah, but I will give my honest opinion, good or bad, on these different movies. Now, if you found that video interesting and or informative, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, please share this video. And if there are other panels or anything like this you want me to react to, please leave those suggestions in the comment section below. Thank you all for your time and have a wonderful rest of your day.